Erger really bird Bergfurts.
Bird fresh like a motherfucker.
Oh, shit! Scorpion, splan, scorpion, bam, bam. John Williams would be proud.
He'd be a little embarrassed, but he'd be proud.
That's how you read a movie score, guys.
Dude.
What are we doing here, Jeff?
I'm not entirely sure, but I think today might be a special occasion, special event.
In preparation for the imminent release of Star Wars Episode 7, we decided to watch...
It's going to descend upon Earth like that big green laser out of the Death Star on Alderaan.
Spoilers, dude.
It's 30 years old.
Still spoilers. For someone who has... Well, okay,
35-year-old spoilers.
All right, so this is what we're doing here. We decided to watch the original trilogy 4, 5, and 6. Today we're starting with just Episode 4, A New Hope of Star Wars. Assuming that you have seen the movie and you're excited about Episode 7, this is not a spoiler-free discussion about A New Hope.
No, this is riddled with spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, just our thoughts and comments and just kind of general response and reaction to what we just watched. Now,
both positive and negative.
Yeah,
because we did watch a particular cut of the film.
Yeah,
we wanted to watch the original cut.
Yeah.
But you know, the original cut that you have isn't of extremely good quality.
I mean, I would have just brought my my original trilogy VHSs out, but my VCR is not in the room. I still have a VCR, yes. Awesome. Is not in the room that we were watching the movie. And so, that aside, we watched the new Blu-ray release. The
latest one.
Yeah, when the saga was released, episodes 1 through 6 with all the bonus material and stuff on Blu-ray. And it looks amazing, but Lucas decided to add in all that extra stuff that wasn't really necessary.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Some of the extra stuff was cool.
Some of it, but very, very little.
But it was just unnecessary. I feel like some of the stuff could have been added in, and a lot of the CG pointless things that were added in could have just been left out, and I would have been happy to have a recut. But
giant Komodo dragon.
That aside, honestly, I don't even want to focus too much on that add-in stuff because that, to me, was not why we watched this. Yeah. We're gonna ignore that, so let's not even commentate on that. We
already have, so we already basically just established that it's unnecessary and that Jabba was not in the first movie.
We dusted off the dust. Now it's time to get to the meat.
Yes,
under the skin, parts, to the nitty gritty. So yeah. First, we have beers.
Yes.
Jeff's motioning to give me the...
I'm giving you the international symbol for give
him the
fucking bottle opener.
All right, you're going to catch this?
I'm going to try. Oh!
Nice, dude.
Thank you.
Left-handed.
Left-handed.
All right, so okay, we're here to talk about Star Wars.
Yes.
Sorry, in our fashion where we just fly around the room, no pun intended. The fact that this had a 2000, I don't know, maybe 2012, 13 re-release on the Blu-ray.
So like 35 years somewhat.
Yeah, and just the preservation of the film I found astounding. Just the detail, the fidelity of the film and the audio that was mixed, it all sounds great still to this day, especially in the Blu-ray format. You can see every little nick and scuff, and it was very, very detailed and beautiful.
I really appreciated the you could see that it was shot on film, though they had digitally enhanced it so that it could be clearer. Mm-hmm. You could still see the hallmarks of literal filmmaking, of literal shooting on 35mm film. That's what I loved about it. There was a texture, a grain to it visually, right off of the bat. That was also one of the first things that I noticed. And also the sound quality was really greatly preserved.
Yeah, the audio production just in the original release was definitely on point, if not probably better than anything beforehand. What I noticed about the quality of the video, or what I thought about when I was looking at the quality of the film itself, was just how old the film is, like Jeff said, and the fact that when you have the effects that they were using back in the day, adding them analog and just kind of superimposing things and blending frames together and different pictures and
cutting
shots of
and whatnot
cutting and pasting and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and the fact that the quality was still like
that good.
yeah, like it was nowadays. If even if you have like the shittiest like digital, video editing software, the more you touch something, the more the quality degrades, and and it seems that like with George Lucas and ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, which was his special effect company, he pretty much founded and started just to make the special effects that we still use today. To be honest with you, I mean, let's all give it to Lucas where he deserves it. Like
where it is.
he invented modern cinema. That's just.
He invented modern. He pioneered modern special effects.
He
Let's put it
pioneered
that way.
CG,
CG, yeah,
and
definitely.
just anything in between.
And sound, like the technical side of film. Yeah, that's where he really excelled at. Lucas does have a tendency to overdo it. I think we saw that in the prequels, but we're not here.
Well,
to talk
yeah,
about
but
that.
I mean,
but all the same, like with regards to A New Hope, what I noticed. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but just to give like a general statement, what I noticed was how much more confident he got. Like the more you watch the film, the further you get into A New Hope, you see how much more confident Lucas gets in the story that he's making. Because I think we were talking before we started watching the movie, or while we were watching the movie, like he didn't know if he was going to make another one. He was just making Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, his intent was to have a fleshed out story,
Yeah.
More than just the first Star Wars, but he didn't know if he was going to be able to make another one.
But when the movie really starts rolling, that's where you see Lucas's confidence grow as a director, as a filmmaker, storyteller, a writer, and all that stuff. So, like that was what really stuck out to me.
It's still, I'll reiterate, the way they were able to preserve the film and the quality that it was in, like, holy crap. Like, they must have had, like, I mean, I own guitars and acoustic guitars, and I know you have to keep them in a certain humidity and a certain, degree of temperature and all this stuff, and it's just like, he had a fucking room. He had to have had a room where those went, in their sealed little aluminum canisters, wherever the fuck it was. The final cut of the film was preserved, or even cutting room floor bits were preserved to the T, man. Yeah. Like, there's no other way it looked that good. It looked so good.
It's probably in a room that's as tightly vacuum sealed as the display of the Declaration of Independence in Washington, D.C.
It's that important to American culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I actually do believe that
no, for sure.
The AFI, the American Film Institute, did like basically, and I think it's in the Library of Congress as like a national treasure, which that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Like we said, modern cinema. Like it was born of Lucas blood.
Yeah.
Sweat and tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back on the detail of the movie, not just the quality and the fidelity of the audio and the video that we watch, but just like the actual film itself, like the world of Star Wars. What I like about it is that, it's like futuristic, but it's set in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Like, it's lived in. Like it's very
it feels lived in.
It's very much lived in. Like
it does feel very lived in.
It's very gritty and it's very like it's seen some shit.
Like, dude, you even see on the stormtroopers' armors, even though they're all the same armor, you see unique little scuffs and scratches and blemishes.
Even on Vader's uniform.
Yeah, you even
on
see
the droids themselves.
Yeah, everywhere you see that there's this lived in, weather-worn, ironic given though it's space, but weather-worn quality to it, to everything, not just the droids and not just the armor, but even the place, even the sets and
the details and the sets and just all the little flashing lights, and even from like room to room, like there's like hallways of like ships and corridors, and then you have like a separate room where like the lighting is very dynamic and the atmosphere changes, and it really seems fleshed out. And what's really cool about that is that the fact that this movie didn't have the highest budget and was sort of made, not in a rush, but was made with very limited amount of resources.
He was behind schedule on it.
Yeah,
and, and like a lot of things went wrong during production.
Not to say an amateur film, because he had made 2 films before that.
But this was his first major.
Yeah,
it's like Christopher Nolan going into Batman Begins. If you want to compare it to something modern. Because Christopher
that.
Nolan had done a few movies before he went into Batman Begins, and he was like, dude, I just really want to do Batman Begins. If you need a modern equivalent. So...
Yeah, but I mean, just like the limited amount of resources that he had, and a lot of the newcomer actors and actresses that were in the movie, it was very much.
Mark Hamill was like the only one of note was Harrison Ford, I believe.
Yeah, but after Star Wars, no matter what you've seen him in, you see Han Solo. I mean, I don't care who you are. Yeah. You know Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Even if you haven't seen Star Wars, you know that Harrison Ford was Han Solo. Or Han Solo, whoever says
Han
it like
Solo,
that.
I
say Han because that's what they say in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though in the movie people say Alderaan and Alderaan, I say Alderaan.
I think it's an accentual thing.
Well, of course.
You know, like it's funny because I say Alderaan as well, but a lot of the Empire officers, the Imperial officers there, I got the adjective right. They often have British accents.
Yeah.
And they say, "Prepare to open fire on Alderaan." Like they have the flat A. It's funny.
Well, you're speaking of Imperial.
The Imperial accent, is largely British in the film.
Yeah, well, we were talking about General Tarkin earlier, and just I mean, he needs to have the accent that he had, only because it just adds.
He's a pompous, diabolical, sinister douchebag.
Dude,
he's awesome.
I love Tarkin.
He's so assured of himself.
Yeah,
he's so sure of himself.
He's like
so self-assured.
And he's sinister, like you said, like, and just like his facial structure, the sunken cheeks and the sharp jaw and cheekbones and nose and fucking like his eyebrows, like just just
everything. He has this like hawkish look to him, and it's just like he's
vicious, dude.
Yeah. And like you want to know more about him. You only see Tarkin. That's what I've always found fascinating. I'm not particularly a Star Wars fan. I wouldn't label myself as such, but I enjoy the films and I've watched them all, obviously. But I've always found it fascinating how Tarkin only appears in A New Hope, and yet he has such a huge fan base.
Yeah, well,
hardcore Star Wars fans like all about the Tark, bro.
Yeah, well, there's a book about him which I just recently purchased and I'm enjoying so far. But yeah, well, he died on the Death Star, obviously. Mm-hmm. Spoilers, they destroyed the first, other spoilers, Death Star in A New Hope. Tarkin was on the Death Star when it happened.
I love it.
Preparing to destroy the rebel base.
I love how he was like, evacuate in the moment of our triumph?
Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's so sure. He's so, like, just set on the destruction of the rebel rebellion.
He believes in the Empire so much.
Yeah.
Probably because he believes in the Emperor so much. I don't know, just like the fact that Tarkin just appears, but you get his motivations.
Yeah. Well,
you understand them completely.
And not to like, sidetrack too much, but in the book, what I've read so far, the book that's titled Tarkin, about General Tarkin's childhood and growing up and how he ended up where he is.
I love that his first name is Wilhuff.
Tarkin.
Wilhuff.
Star Wars. Wilhuff Tarkin. All right, so he was basically, not to go into it too much, it's just he's a very, very rugged, tough guy, and yeah, he grew up with wealth around him, but also a lot was stripped from him, and he had to face some circumstances. The planet that he's from was a very rough place, and he learned that at a very young age, so it's pretty cool. So that if you had the chance to read Tarkin, I haven't completed it, but so far so good. If you're any sort of interested in that, definitely pick it up. It's pretty cool.
I did sidetrack again, if we can. What I noticed, like I started flipping through the book, but like the new chronology is in the front of the book. The story of Star Wars, because for the new movie they recently when the expanded universe is now the Legends.
Yeah,
of Star Wars.
So we're not trying to sidetrack too much or reiterate too much. We want to talk.
I just wanted to point that out. I love the timeline.
Yeah, Tarkin. The book Tarkin is canon to the current canon Star Wars universe by Disney. So I know that there's certain books that are in that canon, and of course episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then 7 and on. I don't know. Have they discounted the episodes 1, 2, and 3? Have they discounted those?
I don't think they discounted the prequels. I don't think they did.
Okay. Well, that aside,
much to the chagrin of many a Star Wars fan.
Okay, A New Hope.
Yes.
despite its some sort of amateur value, it has so much charm and it has so much in it and detail and just action and awesome effects and personality.
The
fact
first
that
shot of this film tells you everything you need to know about it, and the first shot of the film is one of the most iconic shots in cinematic history.
Star Wars: A New Hope Episode 4. It is so fucking cool, and I love it to death. Is that what you were talking about?
I was actually talking about the actual shot of like
when after it fades out and it's like with
the opening crawl and shit.
And then
beyond
the Imperial destroyer.
Beyond the opening crawl, yes, you see like it pans down and you see this little moon in the distance, and then you see the planet below you, which you eventually realize is Tatooine, and then for 3 seconds everything is like just space. Quiet, peaceful, and then all of a sudden, pew, 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 just shots fired everywhere. Like that shot has always stuck out to me, especially since the ships were all models. They were miniatures. I love the fact that Star Wars, the original trilogy, especially, was comprised of practical effects for the most part. So that really stuck out to me. Like even I think sections of the Death Star were miniatures.
Oh yeah, for sure. The whole ending battle scene where they're flying through the.
We're jumping back and forth, by the way.
That's fine. It's Star Wars, bro. Like, we're talking to people who have seen this movie.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie,
why?
Is it no? Well, not that, dude. It's just
that is my first question.
No, that makes sense because it's been around for so long. It's such a big deal, but. If this even remotely seems interesting to you, please watch episodes 4, 5, and 6. Then dip your toes in the 1, 2, and 3.
If you dare.
No, we've already discussed on other podcasts the value of those movies. They have their place as even if we don't agree with them completely. But what I want to talk about is A New Hope, and the movie itself it's just such a good movie. Like all the pieces are in place, and it's some parts are a little stretched out, but you know what? Like it's that. It's much like a play. It's much like
it's a space opera.
It's a science fiction space opera. Yes, it is. Yeah. You have your comic relief, your C-3PO and R2-D2, who are freaking hilarious.
Dude, the first 20-30 minutes of the movie almost focuses solely on R2 and C-3PO.
Well, they are integral to the story happening.
Yeah.
The fact that they end up in Luke's possession for the time being that they do, that actually progresses Luke to I wouldn't say his destiny, but the next chapter of his life. No, it
does push him forward towards his destiny.
But it's the next chapter of his life more so than I would say his fate or his destiny. I think that them meeting was fate. His fate is something a little different, because a lot happens in the next couple films.
Yeah.
But going back to R2 and C-3PO, just the fact that their dynamic is hilarious, first of all. R2, a little bit of mischief maker. C-3PO is a little, not goody two-shoes, but almost play it safe kind of guy.
Yeah, he's very prim and proper.
Yeah.
And doesn't like to get into trouble.
But he's very intelligent, which is where that probably comes from. And the fact that R2 is just I got a mission.
Yeah,
I have something to get done.
To do, dude.
You can come with me if you want, or you can just go fuck off.
Yeah, for real.
I'll see you around.
I know we've been through some shit, but I have something that I have to do.
Yeah.
So
well, just R2 in general, the fact that he's
very headstrong.
Well, yeah, but his personality, man, it shines through so much. C-3PO can speak English. Yes. He can speak 65 million languages, but the fact that R2 speaks only in bleeps and bloops, but his personality shines through so much through that.
I think that's another distinctive. That is a very key. Component that makes Star Wars as unique as it is, because for a character like R2-D2, who you can't understand a word that he's saying, you, the viewer, cannot understand a word that he's saying throughout the entirety of the film, but you understand
every emotion he's conveying.
That and just all of that is really, really special. I think the the closest modern equivalent you can come to is Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I haven't seen that movie, so we're not going to dig into that.
No. If you haven't seen it, don't worry about it. But like, I'm just trying to offer a modern comparison, which is, but
Well, moving on from the droids.
yes, I actually wanted to talk about Luke's journey through the movie because I really like, I've seen the film before. I took the opportunity to actually watch it, and to actually follow the story. And you do notice how Luke is very, I don't want to say bratty, but almost immature. Yes, he has things that he wants to do.
He's inexperienced.
He wants to go to the academy. He wants to get off the farm, all that stuff. But he's still very inexperienced, immature. He still has that wide-eyedness about him, which is unique.
He's naive.
He's very naive, which is unique for somebody in a futuristic, quote unquote, society, spacefaring society.
Dude, he lives in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, of course. But
the outer rim. His planet is the furthest from the brightest point in the galaxy, as he states.
All the same, though, it's still like, even for them, like, that's more advanced than where we are now. So the fact that he still has this sort of idealistic view, coupled with, the Empire and all that stuff, and he wants to take it down.
Yeah, because he lives on a remote planet.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen other things.
Yeah.
He hasn't, just because the galaxy exists and a bunch of people have traveled across it doesn't mean he has.
Very
so
true.
you got to think about it like
as
that.
As
he's
like
just
the
a young
movie
kid.
progresses, but as the movie progresses, I see that naivete kind of like slowly fall off.
Yeah, let's not jump ahead. Let's try to keep this in a steady flow here.
Of course,
you're talking about like Luke and his naivety and in his whininess. So let's stay there for a minute. He is, in fact, Anakin Skywalker's son.
Yes. Spoilers.
Okay. Now, much like Anakin, he is whiny in some respects.
Yes.
Now, you got to think about the
That's funny, actually.
You got to think about the similarities between them. Besides the fact that they both lived on Tatooine as kids.
Yeah.
Which is why before I was just like, well, don't think about how big the galaxy is and how far technology has come along, because he still is very sheltered.
Yeah.
Especially by his aunt and uncle. He's very sheltered, so he doesn't know the other stuff. He's only heard about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
So that's why he's so wide-eyed and he's so like, I gotta get out of here.
I want to see it.
So
like,
he's
really bad.
Like Anakin was, he was stuck. He's stuck on Tatooine. He can't go anywhere. He has no way to go anywhere. He's being held back, and he has this want, this
need,
desire to have a different life or in search of something else, whether it's adventure or just seeing a different planet, just leaving Tatooine in general.
Just like this feeling of not necessarily not belonging, but definitely not wanting.
There's something more to this.
They're not wanting to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I found really interesting is one of the scenes where Luke is having breakfast or lunch with his aunt and uncle, and he's talking about, I think the R2 unit might have been stolen, and I think it belonged to Ben Kenobi, and they said something about Obi-Wan. Is that the same guy? And how Luke's uncle was very, very secretive about it and saying, we're going to have that droid's memory erased, and don't worry about it. That's the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear anything else about it. It's like, like, out of context, you're just kind of like, why? Like, I don't know, like, watching the movie for the first time, like, I don't remember before I found out that Vader was Luke's father, like, how I took that, but it's interesting nonetheless. But watching it in context is very much, like, so interesting, man. And then the look that Luke's aunt gives him after his uncle's just like, no, forget about it,
Yeah,
like, it's just so, like...
you can't keep him like this forever.
Yeah, like, he's bound to find something out someday, and he's bound to have his own life and his own journey, Can't keep him sheltered forever.
Eventually, you're going to have to let him go.
So, then we go ahead and meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Old Ben Kenobi.
Ben.
The weird old man.
I always like that, like, I love the fact that this is a space opera, yet they refer... Nice job.
Sorry.
To Ben Kenobi as a wizard.
Yeah,
this is science fiction.
Well, he's a hermit.
And there are wizards.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, because of the whole fact of the religion
Yeah, the
aspect
Jedi
of the
and whatnot,
Jedis,
yeah.
so they see them as like magic
Of course.
So like referencing like that is really cool. So that I'm glad you said that because I didn't think about that.
Oh
until you
yeah,
said that.
no, like I love the fact that yeah, that's what I do like about Star Wars. That's
The universe is so well thought out.
what I can really,
Sorry, I got
gravitate
excited.
towards about in relation to Star Wars as opposed to something like Star Trek, is the fact that there is still, for the most part, a notion of religion.
Yeah.
A notion of faith, a notion of, the Force, yada yada, so on and so forth. If you look at a series like Star Trek, it's very, I don't want to say it's atheistic, but it's non-theistic. You don't really get to delve into the religions of different aliens, because that would fascinate me. And so the fact that,
Or just the practices.
yeah, practices and things like that. So the Jedi have always fascinated me.
Spiritual, spiritual or traditional.
Warrior monks.
Just traditional, whatever.
What they are. So, the fact that there are, basically Ben is, or Obi-Wan is the last of the Jedi Knights. Darth Vader, the last, another remnant. I think Tarkin said, you are the last, vestige or whatever of that old religion. Things like that.
Now,
that really did fascinate me.
When I was watching this with you tonight, I thought about something when they were talking about Ben Kenobi and how he's an old hermit. Why is he hiding out in the desert? Why is he why is he on Tatooine and why is he hiding? I don't even know if he's hiding, but why is he so ostracized? What do you think that's about? That's a question that really plagues me right now.
Even though it was quote unquote answered in the prequels, my personal belief is that Obi-Wan is serving a form of self-penance. He feels that
because of what happened with Anakin.
What happened, not just what happened with Anakin, but what happened to the Jedi Order, and all of the sequence of events that happened before.
He's retreated.
Yeah, and it's a form of penance. If you look at monks in history, they would often shut themselves away from the world after something really tragic happened or whatnot, as a way to kind of be unto themselves and reflect and things like that. I mean, I would like to imagine the hermit Ben Kenobi just writing down everything he remembers about the Jedi, about the Jedi Order, writing down everything that he remembers about the practices and the faith and whatnot, in the hopes that there would be new Jedi to emerge. That would be some, if you were to go into his house, you'd see books and scrolls and all of these things, but it was a form of penance. Mm-hmm. Because he felt responsible for what happened during the Clone Wars, and now he went to the Outer Rim, away from the Empire, and just closed himself off.
That's a good point. I never thought of it like that.
I like the idea of Obi-Wan being sort of not he is a tragic figure, but at the same time, I like the idea of him being a very noble figure. It's I had a hand in this, so I need to kind of cut myself off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that towards the end of the film, he doesn't necessarily become a martyr.
Oh no!
I think he becomes what he was
meant to be.
Yeah,
through self-sacrifice, you discover your destiny.
Yeah,
because
he called it too, though.
Yeah,
in his words, if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can ever imagine.
And he just when he puts that lightsaber up, I'm like, when I first saw the movie,
he knew what the fuck he was doing.
When I first saw the movie, he put the lightsaber up. I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? And then Vader just swings his like a baseball bat and bloop.
Okay, so we are skipping ahead a little bit.
Skipping ahead,
but
we're skipping all over the place.
That's fine. But the fact that we were here, I have to ask the question. What do you think the significance of him actually disappearing is? And that the fact that there was no physicality left in him when he was struck down, he literally dissipated.
Yeah. I think if you take I think if you take Revenge of the Sith into account, which has Yoda saying, somebody has, I'm going to instruct you how to be, how to survive beyond death, things like that. I think in addition to his time of solitude as penance, he spent so much of Obi-Wan spent so much of his time, in silent meditation, focusing on the Force beyond the physical world, that when he knew he was ready to go,
he could take his physical self with him.
He just went, yeah.
But that's the thing, is the fact that his physical body wasn't there. I get the essence, the soul, if you will, the spirit of a person leaving, but the fact that he physically wasn't there.
What I mean is that when he was ready to go and the body was no longer needed. If the body is no longer needed, there is no need for the body to be around.
So it just literally dissipated. Well, actually, that's interesting, because when Yoda dies, he fades away too.
Yep. And they both become ghosts. Like, I think because they spent so much time in isolation focusing on this concept that Qui-Gon had mastered, apparently, if you believe, based on the prequels, that once they were ready to go, they just went. Mm-hmm. Whether it be death by lightsaber or death by living for 900 years or some shit.
Okay, so I was going to ask a question about Darth Vader and his death in Return of the Jedi, but I'm not even going to ask, because we'll wait till we get to Return of the Jedi for that.
I think I know the question, and
so let's just skip that right now. Yeah. Just back to how cool the film is and how thought out the universe is. Got to mention the Sand People. Credit to the Sand People. That ominous howl,
dude.
It's so cool, man. It's sound effect.
It's jarring.
It's frightening.
It really
it's freaking frightening.
And then the fact that they wrap their heads up and they just have these goggles and whatnot, and
almost like
little spikes coming out of their head.
Yeah, and they have these little mouth breathers where I'm assuming in sandstorms they are able to breathe and still go through them. Yeah, they're literally raiders, Tusken raiders.
Yeah,
they trap. They're desert pirates.
Yeah. In the same way that Jawas are scavengers. Jawas always crack me.
Yeah, the Jawas are just...
Utidi! Them little... I love the fact that you never see the Jawa... Yeah, you never see the Jawas' faces, but their
I was thinking about, what do they look like?
Yeah, I want to know what they look like.
They're probably literally just bones and a little bit of flesh with light bulb eyes.
So they look like Gollum, but with light bulb eyes.
So, back to Obi-Wan. Fucking Alec Guinness. Besides his awesome last name, or his whole name in general... probably the most prominent actor that was in the film.
Yes.
Definitely
classically trained Shakespearean actor.
Exactly.
And I think you needed that for this film. I think he added a lot of gravitas to the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi that you wouldn't have had with any other actor playing him.
And then I would say props to Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
Because he...
You know what?
Did the cadence and flow of Alec Guinness's performance to a T in the prequels.
Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor.
Freaking great.
As Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels was my absolute favorite thing about the prequels. I'm sorry for my horrible Scottish accent.
He nailed it, dude.
No, it was absolutely perfect.
So props to him for that.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. But as far as Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, you really got a sense of whimsy and wisdom from the character. He was very, very funny in a lot of ways, but not funny like you would just laugh out loud, guffaw at him. But you'd be like, "Oh, I see what he's doing."
He's cunning in a subtle way, in a very subtle way.
Yes,
he's cunning.
He's a sly old man.
What I thought was cool about him when you meet him is that when Luke was just like, do you know Obi-Wan, you know him, is he related to you? He's very open about his identity.
Very direct, yeah.
He wasn't really secretive. The only thing that he kept very vague was, but he teetered the line on, was about Luke's father.
Yep.
And how he mentions that his father was seduced by Darth Vader, saying Darth Vader was someone else.
No, his father was betrayed by Darth Vader.
Yeah, well, he was seduced by the dark side, betrayed by Darth Vader. The fact that he's saying Darth Vader is someone else other than Anakin, I thought was really, really important and cool because when when Anakin becomes Darth Vader, he's no longer Anakin.
Yeah.
And when he gives in to the dark side, he's no longer the person he once knew.
Yeah.
So the fact that he referenced them as two separate people is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I also think that Luke wasn't ready for that kind of a bombshell.
Oh no, the fact
Right
that he
off
didn't
the-
tell
yeah.
him, I get why he didn't tell them, but the fact that
Well,
he was
like,
so teetering on the
He
line.
told him enough of the truth
Yeah.
that he could be fine for now.
His openness was really cool, and how he just like pushed Luke to move on to the next chapter in his life. It's just like after the message that R2 played about Princess Leia saying, "Oh, I need your help,
You're my
Obi-Wan.
only hope."
You're my only hope, Obi-Wan," and then the fact that I have these plans, and we need to analyze them, and you need to fucking get here and help me out.
I love that line that Alec Guinness said, "I'm getting too old for this sort of thing."
Yeah, but
That was
he turns
great,
to
yeah.
Luke and gives him that look, like,
Yeah.
you should learn the ways of the Force like your dad. Here's the sword. You got to come with me. I can't do this by myself. Straight up, just like,
Yep.
it's
Straight up.
time. It's time.
It's like,
It's time you
like
moved
I
on.
knew. It's almost like he knew Luke would find him when he was ready to find him.
And once
Like-
again, the whole idea of that,
Yeah.
all these fated meetings, like the way the characters meet each other is so amazing.
It is
like
very-
even
like-
even in Mos
It's
Eisley.
like happenstance, but like happenstance in disguise.
Yeah, like even in Mos Eisley, when Obi-Wan runs into Chewie and starts asking him about transportation, and then he meets Han Solo, and just
I have it.
what?
It's serendipity disguised as happenstance.
All right, I'll
All
take
right.
it.
Anyway,
Now, back to Obi-Wan and Luke and discussing, what happened in basically in episodes 1, 2, and 3 before A New Hope. I love how he discusses briefly the Clone Wars, but mainly the events of Revenge of the Sith, episode
Yeah.
3, where he calls it the Dark Times, and how Darth Vader literally, and with the help of Emperor Palpatine, leading the charge in murdering all the Jedi, like
Yeah.
finding and literally genociding the Jedi, Jediciding, if you will.
genocide. Yeah.
But like, no, I said Jediciding.
Oh, Jedi sighting. Ah, I like
Sorry.
it.
But, like-
Jedi-siding, I like it.
And
I see
and he
what you-
tells him all this stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, you should come. You must learn the ways." And the fact that Luke is so reluctant at first, now it's out of Alec Guinness. Obi-Wan is just like, "Oh, that's your uncle talking,"
Yeah.
because Luke's true passions is to fight the Empire, and
But at the same time, he
he
you
feels his
responsibility.
and his obligation pretty much to where he
Yeah,
lives
it
right
is
now.
more an obligation than
Oh,
a
yeah.
responsibility. A responsibility is something that you take onto yourself. An obligation is put upon you.
But what's so cool is Alec Guinness's line when he's just like, "Well, you must do what you feel is right,
Yeah,
of course,"
you
and
must do
that
what you feel is right.
that's like almost like a stab,
Yeah.
because it's just like, well, whatever you think is right, because
Yeah.
he knows it's right to stay, but he also knows what's really right is to
He sees
is to
the
fight.
larger right.
exactly.
you know.
I thought that was really cool.
And now I can actually I think we're at the point where I can actually expound more upon Luke's character development, because he returns he's going back to his house, which is by the way literally a hole in the ground. Like, I had never really noticed that before watching this movie. Like, his home on Tatooine is literally a hole in the ground.
He lives in a hole in the ground
Yes, he does.
in the middle of the desert.
And they're on their way back, and they find the Jawa's big rig, and it's all destroyed. And
By the way, did you ever realize that they're harvesting moisture?
yeah,
They're harvesting
moisture in the desert, on a desert planet.
It's just like you'd think like that's like the most valuable resource.
I would
It's-
imagine it. Would
I know,
be.
it's just crazy. They're harvesting moisture. I just had to point that out.
Yeah, I love that.
And the fact that before he goes back and sees his aunt and uncle murdered by the Empire, the fact that when they were looking for what was it? Oh, whenever when they got back to the Jawas like little caravan,
the big rig.
the big rig, yeah. So the caravan and how it was just like desolated and
Yeah.
destroyed, and they're burning the Jawa bodies. Remember when we were watching it?
Yes,
I
yes.
mentioned something about that, and the fact that they have no sort of loyalty or siding with Jawas, but the fact that they were humane enough to take all their bodies, put them in a pile, and burn them, because that seems to be the tradition of burial in the galaxy.
Well, not even of burial, but just of disposing of bodies. I don't like.
They don't let them rot. They don't bury
Yeah.
them. They burn them.
It's like once the soul is departed, the body is just a body. There's no reason. There's no need to keep it around.
Well, yeah, like, and it wasn't. Yeah, exactly, and it wasn't like, oh, it's
what the Jedi used to do.
Yeah, it wasn't like a negative thing to burn them. It was literally like it's the practice of what you do with dead bodies. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting that I saw that happen. Yeah. You know, because they're like literally.
Of course, then you see 3PO just like kind of toss one on the fucking pile. Like literally.
Well, they're small enough. They're light enough. I would assume.
I know, but it's just funny.
Even for C-3PO's like, dainty arms.
Oh shit! It's like whoop up. It's just done.
Even for C-3PO's dainty little
held up by little fucking
hydraulics.
Yeah, you see the hydraulic piston. That's one of the things I love. But okay, now moving ahead to what I really wanted to get at was like they get back to the house, and then like first of all, you actually see the charred bodies of Owen and Beru. You actually see their skeletons. I remember being a kid seeing this movie. I'm like, those are skeletons. They're dead. Mm-hmm. They're dead. Mm-hmm. But if you look at Luke, if you look at his reaction, it doesn't hold on him for very long. You see that he is pissed off. Mm-hmm. All caps, period after each word. Pissed off. But I don't want to do the South Park thing.
Don't, just keep going. Don't listen to me.
I can't help it. Piss coming from my ass.
Stop. We don't have to say all of it, dude. Come on, this is a family show.
No, it's not.
All right.
But then afterwards, he just goes to Obi-Wan and he says, there's nothing left for me now. So
it literally set up the motivation for Luke to further his basically to battle the Empire.
But at the same time, do you think that Obi-Wan might have had some clairvoyance as to the jeopardy that Luke might have been in? And not to say that he didn't give a shit about Owen and Beru. Not to say that, but the fact that he knows that Luke is Darth Vader's son.
Well, yeah, when he said you should come with me to go fight, or I can't do this alone, he was already like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't stay here because there's more for you." And obviously, like he didn't know exactly about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, but the fact that
they might have already been dead.
He knew. Yeah, I don't think that he knew they were going to be dead until Luke had the idea of going back after he realized that that the stormtroopers could have. Assuming that's who killed them, because that's who they were looking for.
Oh yeah, very true, very true.
The stormtroopers were looking for the droids in the desert. They tracked the droids back to the caravan, the Jawa caravan. They linked them to Luke's residence, and so he was just like, "Don't go. It's too dangerous."
It's probably already too late.
Exactly.
That's what he said.
So that's when it was just like, it was done, So once again, quote unquote, fate has intervened. Now, when they travel to Mos Eisley, first things first. Awesome band. Love that jam. That's a sweet jam. The fact that, once again, it's so interesting and well done how the characters meet each other in this movie. Chewie and Han are there because they're quote-unquote lowlifes.
Well, they're smugglers. Dive bar.
It's a dive bar. They're smugglers in a bar. Alec Guinness is looking to barter and haggle his way to get transportation to where he's going with no questions asked because they're the kind of people that would do that.
I love
Han shot first.
Yes, of course. Han shot first.
Han was the only one that did shoot.
Yes,
I'm sorry. That's
I had that in all caps in my notes. Greedo did not shoot first. I hated
There's no shooting first or second. Han's the only one that shot.
You warned me about the added frame, and when I saw it, I was mortified. I'm like, how?
I know it was bad.
It sucked because
it's literally a still frame.
I believe I remember reading an interview with George Lucas before the Blu-rays came out, where he said that Greedo shot first. And now to actually see that he put that in the film to justify what he said, that's one thing I have to give Lucas shit for.
Greedo never shot. If you watch the original cut, literally it's Han going, "Yeah, I bet you have." Boom! Blew him away. It was done. That was it. And everyone went back to their drinks and hookahs.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That I love that everybody. I never really noticed that either. I noticed a lot of things in this viewing of the film, like the fact that everybody's smoking hookahs and shit.
Well, in that bar, okay. Well, Luke talking about Luke's journey. his attitude in that bar, like,
Yeah.
I don't think he realizes how
Where
much
he is.
how much danger is in there. His young, naive self, he's being a smartass, and I think it's funny because he doesn't realize what danger he can actually be in a place like that. Like, he's being a smartass with that guy, and he's like that later on when Alec Guinness is talking to Han Solo about, deciding like, hey, I'm gonna fly you over here, and there's Imperial interference or implications that are at stake here, so it's going to cost you extra.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I can fly, man. I don't listen to this guy. Like, maybe he realizes a little bit of the gravity of the situation, but he's still so inexperienced that he doesn't know how to deal with these people.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan is very, very, very calm about it. He's just like, listen, man, I'll give you a third of the money right now, and then I'll give you fucking, like, basically double.
Yeah.
Or more than double when we get there.
He asked for like he asked for 10, and then he's like, I'll give you 15 when we reach Alderaan. It's like 17, really? All right.
Yeah, so Han is like that really thuggish, ruggish kind of guy, and Luke is young and experienced and smart mouth still. Now, Tarkin has this idea to destroy Alderaan, which is Princess Leia's home planet.
By the way, I want to comment on the mind control droid. That was fucking terrifying. You just see that needle coming towards Princess Leia, and it's just this orb floating in the air. And we were talking about that shot earlier, like when we were watching the movie. Like, you just see this black orb floating. You see all these little instruments and things poking out of it and whatnot, but you see this gigantic needle, and it goes closer and closer towards the camera. And, like, the fact that, like, everything happens off screen makes it that much more
It's truth serum.
terrifying. Yeah.
They injected her with truth serum,
And then, like,
which didn't end up working.
of course, that's why Tarkin says, I have a more interesting idea of persuasion. She could be persuaded other ways.
And then, of course, she goes ahead and lies about where the rebel base is, and Tarkin still decides to destroy the planet. Now, just one quick aside, what I thought was really interesting is that in this movie you see a lot of Vader and his other, I don't even want to say subordinates, but like his peers almost, because these generals and these officers that are in the battle station, how they bicker back and forth and they argue with each other, and the fact that Vader's like, as you wish, Commander, or yes sir, stuff like that, like, he is not the head honcho. The Emperor is. Now, he is the Emperor's apprentice. So Darth Vader's literally there kind of as this forceful presence, but he's not the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
Tarkin is really, really up there as that dude.
I like to think that that Vader has spent a lot of time at the Emperor's side, and that he has only recently really come on the scene since, to oversee the completion of the first Death Star, which obviously was in its final stages at the beginning of New Hope, but then the plans were stolen, and so he was kind of sent in. He spent all this time at the Emperor's side, but then he was sent in by the Emperor.
He's literally not ranked in their ranks.
Absolutely. And then, but by virtue of that, you see all of the the one dick general who, started criticizing Vader about, the Force and his religion. He's like, that ancient religion is all, total hogwash or whatever they said in the 70s. And then Vader just freaking chokes him. Like, you see that these guys don't really know who Lord Vader is. They don't fucking... Tarkin knows, but Tarkin and Vader have had enough interaction, I believe, to that where they have like this mutual understanding without it being antagonistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like mildly it's like mild banter, but they have this respect for each other. But everybody else, Vader's just recently come back on the scene. He's been at the Emperor's side this entire time until right before New Hope. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, them hearing about the Force, hearing about Jedi and all that stuff, that's like, what? Really? That kind of deal. By the way, another aside, I loved the sound effect of the Force choke. Just like, and like the more he chokes, Yes, we gotta get to this. We gotta get to that. We gotta get to that. We gotta wait.
All right, real quick in the
oh shit!
we're talking about the Imperial fighters. So
I have a joke.
Luke, when he's doing his very, very brief training, which I think is so funny that's it's even included.
Yes.
In the Millennium Falcon, when he's literally that little laser droid, just kind of shooting surprise little stun shots at him.
Yeah. I always like that little droid. I actually think
it's super cool. It's a little cool training module.
Would you say that little training module might have been one of the inspirations for BB-8 in the Force Awakens? If you look at it, it has that little.
I really have no clue.
Okay.
What I thought was interesting about that is that it's so abrupt almost, and he's just like, do your training, and it's nothing like the training he gets from Yoda, because really, even at the end of the movie, with what he accomplishes, he's still very much
a novice.
He's a rookie and a half, bro.
He's green as
super
fuck.
green. So, but what was really cool is back to like the Force, which we haven't really touched on too much, is the philosophy behind it, the spiritualism, but it's very spiritual, but it's so philosophical too. And how Alec Guinness is like, I keep calling him Alec Guinness. It's Obi-Wan. You know what we're talking about. You know who we're talking about. I just like saying Alec Guinness because that's the man right there. How he's saying, trust your instincts, use your instincts, your feelings, because your eyes can deceive you.
Yes.
Which I love that line so much, and how he later on says, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
It's like the Force obeys your commands as well as moves you.
Yes.
Like it's not this. It's
guides
not a magical thing. It's very much. It's
a primal
essence,
force. Yeah.
It is literally a force.
It's a primal conscience.
I love that. I just love all those little lines.
I always felt that the idea of the Force was basically connected to your base consciousness. That's why he says trust your instincts, trust your feelings. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see. Believe what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that and like I said, that is what has really intrigued me about Star Wars, about the Star Wars mythology, is the Jedi, and their access to the Force.
They're so in tune.
Yes, and dude, these guys, these Jedi spend so much time in meditation. And that's how they achieved the mastery of the Force. It's obvious that Lucas was influenced by, certain forms of Buddhism and things like that. But it becomes something unto itself because it's the Force.
It's the fucking Force.
It's the Force. You really can't pin it down.
Yeah, there are ways
to such a single primitive idea. It's literally it's religion and philosophy blended into one.
Yeah, there's ways to try to describe it, but it's mostly dancing around it because there's no pinpointing.
Yeah,
there's no direct.
It's religion and philosophy and practice, and it's all intertwined. It's all interconnected, and it's really fascinating to actually kind of like try and study.
It's what binds us all.
Yes, indeed.
So, on to the next part of the story when they're going to rescue the princess.
Yes.
Unknowingly rescue the princess. They went to go to Alderaan, and it's not there because it was blown up by the Death Star, and they're approaching.
Well, I love that when they come out of hyperspace at Alderaan's coordinates, Han is puzzled.
Yeah, he's like, it's supposed to be here, but it ain't here.
No,
it's been blown away.
Literally, he's like, we're in some kind of asteroid field.
Yeah, but then he says...
I love that, but, I get what happens after, but what I love is that, like, the detail, again, even though Alderaan was completely destroyed.
The fact that there's particles of it floating around.
Yeah, and, like,
that wasn't, like, left aside, of course.
And Han himself said, you don't get the calculations right, you could end up going through a star or crashing into a pulsar or some shit, and
even though he was right,
they ended up in a freaking asteroid field.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and he even said, like, he's like, I'm telling you, kid, it ain't here. It's been blown to pieces. And they're like, that's impossible. It would take thousands, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a fighter. And the fighter is literally escorting them.
I was like,
and
I forgot about the fighter.
They're unknowingly being escorted towards the Death Star.
Yeah, I literally forgot about the fighter. I forgot that that's how they came upon the Death Star.
And then the classic line by Alec Guinness, That's no moon.
That's no moon.
And they try to get away, and they can't.
It's a battle station.
Now, what's cool is another Alec Guinness has so many good lines in this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
When he's talking about Han's like, I'm not going away. I'm not going down without a fight. And Alec Guinness is like, listen, it's a fight you can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting.
Yes.
You know, which is almost along with
it's like foreshadowing.
Yeah, along with his he's not dead or I'm not dead yet from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
like a lot of foreshadowing about
his
where he ends up. What's cool is that when they land and they're hiding in the ship, and the stormtroopers can't find them in the Millennium Falcon, the protagonists, Vader's like, I sense something I haven't felt in, and then he walks away. Now, is he sensing Obi-Wan, or maybe even Luke, or both?
I think it could be both, because
I mean, it's obviously Obi-Wan, but is it also Luke? Because I don't know if he wasn't technically there when Padme gave birth to Luke and Leia. He wasn't there. He was literally being rebuilt into the half man, half robot that he was.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan for sure, but like maybe even Luke.
Here's what I think though. Like, here's another possibility. Yes, he's sensing Obi-Wan, but the psychological damage that was done to Anakin Skywalker that turned him into Darth Vader was such that he hasn't felt Anakin Skywalker in years.
Oh, so you think that Luke being that Luke
is Anakin's son, like there's a little bit of Anakin's purer essence.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's a lot to read into, but a lot of it probably was Obi-Wan. I think that would be more apparent, especially since Luke was still very green. Even like it wasn't much to be sensed until it was ready to be sensed, and we'll get to that in a minute.
So, they land.
The Princess Rescue.
The Princess Rescue, which honestly,
that's the greatest rescue of all time.
It's great.
It goes horribly.
Yeah, it goes horribly, but like, I like it, and I feel like all their scenes have their place. But at the end of the day, if there's any drawback to it, I do feel like that whole section's drawn out a little bit.
It is,
and the Death Star sequence is a little too short. If they would have just flipped those.
You mean the last battle? The Battle of Yavin?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think, that's
funny you call it the Battle of Yavin.
Well, I know it as the Battle of Yavin. I know it as. I know of Star Wars chronology. I know that, there is before the Battle of Yavin and after the Battle of Yavin. I know of that significant point where the first Death Star was destroyed. But, like, I love that. I've always had a fondness for that line, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? I was like, I watched the show Supernatural, and one of the characters says that. She's very sarcastic. She's really hot, but she's very sarcastic. She says it like, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? But the fact that what I love about Princess Leia is she's a badass.
Yeah, she's not a damsel in distress.
No,
she's just
not.
like, hey, thanks for coming to get me, but I'm gonna make this actually happen.
No, she is.
I'm gonna get us the fuck out of here.
She is a damsel in distress, but she is not a damsel in distress. There is a difference. She's a woman, and she's in this precarious situation.
And she's in distress, but she's not helpless.
Yes,
she's very much.
Not.
She's very much moving everything along.
Absolutely. Like she, at one point, she's like, "Give me the gun," and boom, boom, boom. Like she just starts shooting. I love that about Princess Leia, and yet she's still like.
I love a lot of things about Princess Leia.
Of course.
Well, real quick. When quick Easter egg that I mentioned, which I actually noticed for the first time during this viewing, when they bring Chewbacca in as a ruse. This is we're transferring a prisoner from cell block 1138, where they say 1138, and I'm like 1138 THX 1138, which is
the first
George Lucas's first film with what's his Robert.
Was it Robert De Niro or Robin Williams?
No, Robert.
You want me to look it up? Just to confirm?
Whatever. I might just be saying something.
We just know that THX 138.
I have the Blu-ray somewhere.
We just know that THX 1138 was Lucas's first.
Yeah, and the fact I never noticed that until this viewing, so that was pretty cool that I picked that out of there. So that's a good movie. THX 1138 is a pretty interesting movie. Check it out.
I actually have never seen it, so I'll have to see.
Oh, we should definitely watch that.
Yes.
All right, so we talked about Ben Kenobi being struck down, quote unquote, and then
Well, actually, I want to talk about that whole fight. I love that whole fight. Because even as rudimentary as it was,
as amateur, and
because Lucas was still feeling out, lightsaber combat and whatnot. But the thing is like,
it was more of a mind fight.
It was a battle of wills. It really was a battle of wills. Yeah, like, okay, you know what I really loved? A little subtle special effects touch, and this is where Lucas was brilliant. Is that, yes, Obi-Wan has a blue lightsaber, Darth Vader has a red lightsaber, but every time they clashed and they hit, you saw this yellow flash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I love that. Like, it's a little touch, but you saw the yellow flash. I'm like, what the fuck? But it was a battle of wills. I think,
it wasn't really about the sword art.
No.
Or the saber art, I should say. It was very much, I'm looking in your eyes, you're looking in mine. I'm
wondering
who's going to push the other person.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Obi-Wan knew that Luke was nearby, and he was literally, because the thing is,
he was waiting.
He was trying to hold Vader off.
Yeah,
I always get the impression of Obi-Wan in A New Hope as knowing more than he lets on. Like, that's just my sneaking suspicion with Obi-Wan, because like I said, yes, he's very wise, but he's also very whimsical, and in that whimsy is a lot of cunning and a lot of slyness. And, he knows a lot more than what's going on. He is a very powerful, very old Jedi Master.
He's a Nostradamus.
Yes.
A Jedi Damus. Well, he says, I'm not dead yet.
And he has been focusing, his power. He had been focusing his power of the Force, his mastery of the Force, on Tatooine before this point. So, it makes me wonder every time, does he know more than what we're seeing? He knows, does he know that Luke is at this point, and he's going to be here soon, so I got to hold him off for this long, and then once the opportunity is there, I'm just going to, and that whole moment of Obi-Wan raising his lightsaber, Darth Vader striking him down, and then you just, honestly, that no from Luke is one of the best no's I've heard on film. Because a lot of those tend to be really cheesy, but, there was real distress and despair and panic in that. So
after they escape, whoa.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay, good. No, you made a crazy noise, but
no. I've been trying to avoid hitting the wire.
No, you're good. I can still hear you. You're good. as long as you're still in it, we're still in it, guys. So after that happens, and they escape the Death Star, and they fight off those last couple of fighters, which is really cool. I love those. Those gunner seats are so sweet. I just think those the gunner seats are really, really cool.
Yes,
that should be a video game. I'm sure it is somewhere. I gotta go there. Now, when Leia leaves the cockpit at that one point, and Luke enters in again, Han's really he's as much as he's like, yeah, she's cute, but I don't like her. He's at that point not about that as much as Luke is. Luke's really into it, and so when Han's just like, I'm
which
trying
is
not.
Ironic.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm trying not to think about her, and Luke's like, good. And then he looks down at the console all smitten and shit. And then Han's like, oh, I'm gonna fuck with him. And then he's just like, you think
got a lot of spirit though.
Yeah, and he's like, think a princess like her and a guy like me, and Luke's like, no. And Han just fucking laughs.
Yeah,
that was awesome. He's just fucking with him so hard. That was great.
Oh my god!
Now,
that was a good little
when they get to the rebel base and Luke's he's all dressed in his pilot outfit, and they're all talking about to go on the suicide mission, as it's said, to destroy the Death Star.
Yeah, that's how Han described
where
it. Yeah.
Luke makes that 1 in a million shot.
Yeah.
Like
you said, I do agree with you that I wish that battle was a little bit more drawn out.
Yeah.
To add to the gravity of the situation.
I mean, it did what it had to do, and I still liked it. It was very, very entertaining. Probably the more entertaining part of the movie as far as the action sequences
Yes,
go.
absolutely.
I mean, I think it was rightly so. I mean, it was the big moment, you know.
That's what people remember.
Yeah. So that aside, when you know that actual action sequence, but before that, when Han Solo is leaving and Luke's like, "Oh well, you know, you're not gonna stick around." Like
he pulls an Obi-Wan.
Well, he's like
on Han.
Well, he goes, "Look, man, like you see what's happening around you, like." You know what they're about to face. Like, you can't just walk away from them. And he's just like, listen, man, this is not my deal. Has nothing to do with me. Yeah. I have debts to pay. I have my own shit to deal with.
Yeah.
And then Han's like, and then Luke's like, well, you know what? Go ahead and take care of yourself because that's what you're good at. And then Luke goes to leave, and Han feels a little bit of guilt.
Yeah, you
see that. But like a very baby, minuscule amount of guilt. And then when he goes to leave, he turns and he's like, Luke, may the Force be with you. And then he gives that smirk. Like, is that facetious? Or is it honest? I cannot tell.
I honestly believe that there is a sense, like there is some.
It's almost like one of those things where it's like there's a truth to every joke.
No, he's being being
kind of torn.
He's being genuine, but he's still got to remember I'm still Han Solo, so I'll just
Well, I think that it's what you're saying, but in reverse. Like just flip that on its heel, where he is. Well, listen to what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
He is joking with him, but as he's saying it because he knows what Luke believes, and that he does
because they have been through a lot.
He's some sort of internally actually wants Luke to have some sort of peace of mind as he's going out. So he's like, "Listen, I don't believe this shit, but you know what? May the Force be with you." You know what I mean? Which I think
ironically enough, I want to tell you something. I never realized this.
What?
The day that I bought my car. The day that I got my car was May the 4th.
May the 4th
be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
Like I never, like my mom told me the other day, like, yeah, you bought your car on May the 4th. Like, really? I bought my car on Star Wars Day? That's actually pretty cool. It's like I wonder, like
on Star Wars Day.
On Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you. You know, like I thought you would really appreciate that.
No, that is really cool. So the ending of the movie.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Battle of Yavin because.
Well, that's the end. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The final battle.
Yes.
What I think is really cool is that Vader's a part of it.
Yeah.
He's piloting.
Vader, like actually, like,
he has his own little squad.
Yeah.
Because Anakin was a very, very prominent pilot in this time, and the fact that he still is.
You always hear about. You heard in the movie about like Obi-Wan said Anakin was the best fighter pilot in the galaxy
and a very avid warrior.
Yes, and and
which we all knew he was. But
first of all, he's still doing it. I love that Vader's first of all, Vader's TIE fighter
was a higher class of TIE fighter.
It's different from the other TIE fighters. Like, it has the curved things and whatnot. I love the TIE fighter sound. Yes, I like the. I would love to see a tie-dye fighter, but the sound out of it is. Whoa. I don't know why. I was just
it's so good. It's so good.
So, did you ever see? You never saw the Family Guy Star Wars special, but they had
something Dark Side.
No, the first one, which was based off A New Hope. It was called Blue Harvest.
Oh no!
Yeah. No, they remade. They did a Family Guy episode for each Star Wars movie.
Oh, great!
And dude, in the first one, the TIE fighters were piloted by Thais. People from Thailand.
Oh no! I was thinking like a bow tie.
Oh my God. That would have been even funnier if they were piloted by Thais.
Like, because they almost look like bow ties.
Yeah, they do. Oh my God! I never actually thought about that.
You ever seen Thumb Wars?
Never seen Thumb Wars.
Watch yourself some Thumb Wars. All right, so Battle of Yavin, Darth Vader piloting, super cool. Han coming in,
yes,
as backup,
out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
Like the yahoo, get him, kid. All right, like, go ahead and do what you got to do now. I got you. Yeehaw,
yahoo!
Like he comes, he's a space cowboy.
Yeah,
literally a space cowboy. It's awesome. So he comes in, and Luke makes his 1 in a million shot, and then in the end, Luke, Leia, and Han all have like the little hugging scene.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, I knew you'd be there. And Luke literally almost kisses Harrison Ford.
I missed that. I have to watch it again, but
like,
that's hilarious.
He like almost does it. I mean, that could have just because they were hugging close, but it looked like he was about to kiss him, and it didn't happen. But then Leia comes, just like, I knew there was more to you than money, and it was like almost like that cheesy moment. But it's just like that moment really, really encapsulates those three. Like it's just like.
Yeah,
those three came together.
That these three characters are the characters you want to root for.
It's like they came together under different circumstances, and now they're
a force
through all their whatever just happened with them. They're like an adhesive. They're a package deal now.
They're a force.
They're a force to be reckoned with. I wouldn't say. Okay, well, so they're together now. That those are the three main protagonists of the movie, and then they're all bunched together, buddy, and then at the end, Leia presents Luke and Han Solo with medals.
And Chewbacca's
like, la, why the fuck did I like that medal? As give middle fingers in the air.
Off.
So yeah, well, at the end of the day, you know, when the Star Wars movies end on the high note, it's always like that scene where people are getting recognized for their heroic actions. And
yes, like that was a really good but
perfect.
At the same time, you did want to see more, and I think.
It was abrupt.
Well, here's the thing.
It was literally the opposite of the ending of Return of the King.
Well, not even that.
You didn't even hear what I just said.
Return of the King?
It's literally the opposite of the ending of Return of the King.
Yeah, because
where there's like 100 endings, and this one literally had one quick one.
Well, I was going to say that...
It's just a joke, Jeff.
I know. But there are many movies nowadays that hope to establish franchises.
Many moons ago.
And they have these endings to these movies that so obviously set up sequels.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Lucas, like we said, he didn't know he was going to make more. He wasn't sure he was going to make more.
Yeah.
I think there was a notion he did want to make more, but there wasn't that assurance. And so
he had like milestones set up for the future movies, but they were never fleshed out completely because he didn't know if he was going to be able to make another Star Wars.
As far as A New Hope's ending, it could be like it could have been a standalone movie, and it could have just been like that thing. It's a cool movie. Look at that. But because of what was established throughout the film, that's what made people want more. You don't have this deliberate cliffhanger ending hoping that people are going to want to see, where the story goes from there. You have a standalone story. This is the story that happens. But there's other stuff outside of this story.
It's literally part 4 of the story. So when this movie first came out, it's like, wait, what happened to parts 1, 2, and 3?
No, it was literally just Star Wars when it first came out.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is the fact that they labeled it like that and they came with the other one. It's just
yeah.
But it's like,
true.
So Episode 4, A New Hope,
Yeah.
I guess I'm not as much of a Star Wars nerd as some other person might be, which is who would be able to tell us whether or not it said Episode 4.
Have it accurate.
During the beginning crawl, which I think it did, but either way it goes, whether or not it said that, the whole.
I know when I first saw Star Wars, it said Episode 4, A New Hope.
Well, yeah, that's different than the original release.
But no, in the opening crawl, I'm just saying.
No, I know what I'm saying. When it was we're talking about when it was originally came out. So, but regardless of that, the movie itself, whether or not it said that, is enough to be like, I want to know this. I want to know that. What's this? What's that? Where did this come from? How does this happen later? Like, what happened to Darth Vader when he spun out? Like, all these different little questions. I can go on with questions.
Like, the last image of Darth Vader in A New Hope, his TIE fighter is just gonna go, and you just see him spinning, and he's kind of like, seriously, like what the fuck?
Good movie, man.
It was a really, really good movie.
Not as hardcore as the next two Star Wars, but it's such a good foundation, man.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, you saw Lucas's confidence in the story grow as the movie progressed.
A slow burn, as you said.
Yes, and I'm glad that we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we are watching the original trilogy.
Yeah, I've actually never discussed A New Hope the way I have with anyone just now.
Dude. No. I really want to discuss these movies because me not being a particular fan, even though I've read up a lot on Star Wars, I don't consider myself a fan because I don't attach to it. I attach to Lord of the Rings and things like that. I don't attach to Star Wars, but I like Star Wars. And like, with the imminent onset of The Force Awakens, I am glad to be watching the original trilogy because it's all you need to watch for The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Because it's directly connected to
Yes, it takes place 30 years after Jedi, and you only need to watch the original trilogy. And I'm looking forward to watching Empire and watching Return of the Jedi. And just...
There's so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about. And leading up to Force Awakens.
Great films, all of them.
So I'm hoping that J.J. Abrams will earn himself the title of Irvin Kershner. I think Irvin Kershner should be a title.
Irvin Kershner. It brought it right back, man.
Yes, full circle.
If anybody listening to this has listened to our podcast, The Purd Cursed, it's on the channel that we'll be posting this reaction audio on, and just go check them out if you have some time. Like, they're just all over the place, and they were done very sporadically and spread out. But you know what? We
enjoy doing them.
It's us, and sometimes it's not so perfect or so hot, but you know what? It's reality. It's just us getting together and just kind of doing whatever. But this whole series, if you will,
we have a purpose.
Yeah, this whole series, if you will, that we're doing right now in preparation for Episode 7, we're gonna watch Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6, and after each one, we will react to them and comment on them and
break them down.
So this is the first one. So if you liked it, please like the video. Or just come back to our channel and subscribe,
comment on the videos. Do whatever you need to do. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter.
If you comment on this video, I will, share it. If you comment on this video, I will, Jeff and I will definitely be happy to just respond to your comments and just discuss Star Wars a little more because Star Wars is awesome. And definitely be on the lookout for our next commentary. I can't say when it's going to be out, but it'll be out in the next couple weeks just because... Star Wars Episode
is coming. So
Force Awakens
we really want to get this
is
stuff
awakening
done.
very soon.
Ironically enough, the first podcast we ever did was called "The Purd Curse Strikes Back."
Yeah,
the Purd Curse Strikes Back.
I think it was the Phantom podcast.
Was it the Phantom?
The Phantom Purd Curse. It was the Phantom Purd Curse.
Oh yeah, the second one was
the Purd Curse Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it was not Return of the Purd Curse.
No,
just so you're aware.
I just can't believe the first one was the Phantom podcast. Wow.
It ended up being that way because we ended up talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we don't talk about Star Wars every podcast. That just happened in the first one. We kind of ranked the films.
Well, that was your idea. That was a good kind of lead-in.
Yeah, we definitely didn't discuss in detail this at all.
Not to
because as you heard, we discussed A New Hope only, which is in the next episode of our Star Wars original trilogy reactions audio.
Of course.
Reactions are basically just going to be of these three
reviews,
movies.
breakdowns.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. If you stuck around the whole time, you're fucking awesome. Please thumbs up. Please subscribe. We're going to have some more content coming your way. So for now, I'm Alex, and I'm going to sign off with my buddy over here.
I'm Jeff. I'm going to be logging off with my buddy Alex, and we will see you again, or rather, you will hear us again.
In a galaxy.
In a galaxy near you, or far away.
Say far away, yeah.
What?
Whatever. That's
Empire Strikes
That's
Back.
the beauty of the internet. Yes. No matter where you are, if you have internet connection, you can get us.
Yes.
And you can get some Star Wars.
Where to find us.
You can get some Star Wars in your brain holes. Indeed. All right.
In your brain hole.
Bye.
Laters.